Okay, welcome back. This is going to be a short one for Busy 1071. We are at the end of the 6th week. We've gone through weeks 4 through 6 on work-life balance and other associated topics, and we will now have another mini test, just like the first one on FOL, except this one will be worth a little bit more, and it will have a short answer question involved, so it'll be worth 15% of your mark. Also, just like the first one, it will be open resource, open book. You will take this on your own schedule by the deadline, and you will have 50 minutes to take it once it starts. It has 30 multiple choice questions and 1 short answer question. So the 30 multiple choice questions, if you've gone through the material, this should not take you longer than a minute per question. In fact, that's a lot of time, which leaves you a good 20 minutes for the short answer question. If you go into this thinking you're going to look up the answer to every question, it's not going to go well. So this is assuming you've gone through the material in the course and you've read the Balance Point book and you're ready for this test. The questions are directly related to the content. So there are going to be questions on Adam's guest speaker appearance. I think maybe 4 or 5 at least out of the 30. And they will question some of the broad-based things he mentioned. If you even watch the video once, you'd probably already know the answers. But if you have the time to quickly review it, remember all of my YouTube videos, you can actually speed them up. If you go to the settings on YouTube, you can just watch them faster, and you can get transcripts for them as I showed you in the video earlier. You just go up in the playlist and it's there. There will be questions on the week 5 videos. So we had the Tony Robbins video, the video on working in real estate part-time, and then the sales expert video. All 3 of those will have a few questions, probably more on the sales and the Tony Robbins video, maybe a little bit less on the working in real estate part-time, but I will ask you a few questions about those videos. Any of the notes in the readings are fair game, but if I do pull something from an article or some of the like supplemental readings, it would be pretty basic stuff, pretty obvious stuff. A lot of the questions I ask about Jordan's book are that obvious. Like, for example, I might ask you, what is the name of the main character in all of Jordan's narratives? Anybody who's bought the book and opened it up and look at the first 5 pages would know the answer to that. Okay? I'm not even going to give you the answer because you should be able to figure that out if you have the book. In fact, you can go to the Amazon page for the book and just read the beginning of some of the chapters, and you'd know what the guy's name was that he's always talking about. So he has a fictional character that he's put into the book, and that's the person going through all these stories. But that's not all I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you about some of Jordan's lists. There's probably a good 8 to 10 questions on Jordan's part. Like, I might ask you a question like, for example, hint, which of the following is not part of Jordan Ring's list in the first chapter of the Balance Point as 3 primary examples of ideas that can consume our lives. Okay, so he gives these examples of ideas that can sort of run our lives, and that's not a negative thing. Consume is probably one of those bad words, but that can suck up time in our lives, that take over our lives. And he gives these 3 different categories of ideas, and I'm going to ask you which one of these that I'm giving you is not. So it's almost, in a sense, just checking to see if you've looked at the book, because I think the book is worthwhile and it's part of this course. But I'd ask you questions like that. I'd ask you questions about certain lists that he's provided in various chapters. The final element of Jordan Ring's balanced approach to work problems is a great lesson for entrepreneurs, with the message that blah, blah, blah. So I might ask you about things like that. And I think that was chapter, I forget which chapter that was. But you guys, if you even have a good idea of where everything is in the book and you had to look something up, you'd be able to do it. If you haven't looked at the book at all, it's going to take you too much time. Okay, so, and then I will have a short answer. And the short answer question, I will give you a pretty good heads up here of what it is. You're going to want to save that till the end of the mini test, and there will be red text at the top of the question whenever it comes up, because all the questions are scrambled. It might be at the beginning, it might be at the end, it might be at the middle, but it will suggest to you to leave that question until the end. And that question alone will be worth 16 points out of 100. The other 30 multiple choice questions are worth the rest of the points out of 100. So it's going to ask you to pull some information from Jordan's book and sort of relate it to your own life and things that you've gone through, maybe some ideas you might have, ways it could help you. So I'm not expecting an essay. It'd be a few paragraphs at most, and these wouldn't be long paragraphs. But that's why you're going to want to be comfortable with the material enough to get through those 30 multiple choice questions in about a half an hour. And then you've got a good 20 minutes left for the short answer question. If you can't get to the short answer question and you want to focus completely on the multiple choice questions, that's fine. But that's how it's going to be set up, okay? And you will be given 50 minutes to do it. Upon finishing it, it will not be graded automatically, because the short answer question I have to grade manually, and then I put your grade over into grades. So you might have to wait a couple days once you've taken it before you see your mark. It won't be just like the last one, and all of you will be taking it at different times if you're in the online course, so I can only go in and grade a few at a time. So just be aware of that. And that's all I wanted to cover to make sure that you are ready for this mini test. I'm not going to give you brain buster questions. If you've gone through the material, you should be pretty comfortable with it. And then I promised at the end of the last video I would show you a couple of my weird references I made in that video to that one author of the article, Keith. And I might ask you questions about that article too, right? Remember the article about attitude? Stuff like that. There might be a question or two on that. So here's kind of a funny thing on the name Keith.
Final checkpoint. Answer this question. What is the most unattractive male first name in the English language? Keith.
I don't know why I find that so funny. Probably because I have a friend named Keith, and when I saw that episode of Family Guy, I just started laughing my butt off. And then in terms of how much of a difference it makes to make a happy greeting, and one of the more fun characters I found from South Park. And I have friends that are gay that are just like this. Most of my gay friends are not like this. It's very much a stereotype. But once again, when I saw this, I was like, oh man, I'm not going to say his name. But so here's Big Gay Al for you.
I'm super! Thanks for asking. All things considered, I couldn't be better. I'm a thing. I'm feeling super. No, nothing but...
Anyway, that's enough of that. But I do a lot of pop culture references because I'm into funny TV shows and weird stuff like that. But anyway, that's it for this particular video. This was just to get you ramped up for the test. Do not be overwhelmed by this. Do not get stressed about it. Once I launch and open the window, and this may be on different dates depending on the semester, but I will very rarely give my online sections anything less than 10 days to get it done. Usually it'll be a couple weeks, and then you just move on to the next content. So this is what I like about the online courses. I don't want you guys doing everything at once, but I would encourage you to do it kind of in sections. So now you're into this section, you're nearing the end of it. As soon as you're done with that mini test, you will move on to the next section, which is going to get much more into the actual career and the industry of real estate and what things are like. Okay, so I will see you then, starting in week 7. For now, just get ready for the week 6 mini test. It's worth 15% of your mark. It is directly based on all these things here. If you've gone through this material, you should be in good shape. As always, email your professor if you have any questions. I will see you next time.